Welcome back to the studio. It's still good morning, Abuja, and I have my second guest in the house. Yes, I am going to say welcome to our friend, our farmer's voice, the one who speak for the farmers and who likes to advocate for them. I'm talking about none other but uh, Mr. Usman Ibrahim, the managing director of Manudin Farms and an agri expert by every meaning and definition of the word. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yes,
for having me.
yes.
It's
You know, Nigeria is so blessed, so blessed. We have almost everything. In fact, let me jokingly share with you that a friend of mine once said, "Is like when God finished designing heaven, He decided to put a small aspect, small heaven on earth, and that small heaven is Nigeria here with the resources, with the food, with everything that this country has. Unfortunately, God Himself is not here to govern. So the leadership here is is somewhat bad. Well, that is his opinion. But talking about the blessings that this country have, one of them is in our arable land. Our land is so fertile. We are so blessed. Our waters are blessed. We produce so much, but yet there is the fear of food insecurity. This is something that calls for sober reflection. But this morning, let's discuss interstate food importation and what this represents for agroeconomic diversification. You know, when you look at Nigeria, a lot of things move around. You
yeah.
understand? Rice is farmed in Kwakuti, just Niger State here. And then there are no mills to process that rice. So that rice has to travel all the way to probably
Kano.
Kano, Lagos before it is processed. And then it's come back to be sold here in Abuja. So the same farmer who farmed that rice finds it difficult to be able to afford the rice he has farmed by the time it goes through the processing chain. These are the things I want to look at. But let us begin by understanding what your own understanding of interstate food production is.
Okay, like you rightly said, agriculture, it's the next oil thing in Nigeria. It has been right from the day one, it has been there.
It was
But
even what was used
it
to.
was what was used to build Nigeria. But along the way, Nigeria lost its track when they discovered oil.
Hmm.
And the challenge that now we went into oil. Let me just speak a bit about oil. We went into oil, we had refineries, and along the way, lack of maintenance, those refineries crashed down. The same thing is happening in the agricultural sector today. You produce from state A, you cannot refine well from the farm, from state A, you can't process it to finished goods. You have to take it to state
B,
C
C, D
and D and bring it back to
to
come and
A.
sell in A. That is what is happening in the oil sector today. We have crude, you take it out, you process it, you bring it back in. The same thing will going on with agriculture right now. And if the minister or the government doesn't stand up to face this problem head on head, forget the oil sector, it's affecting mostly, they say, the poor. But the food sector, there will come a time with your money, you cannot buy what you want
It's already happening.
with agriculture. And interstate farming, that is where the minister, I really wish the minister can even listen to me or hear what I have to say. The minister there's a bridge, there's a very huge gap between the minister of agriculture and the local production team. He should take it or leave it. It's the truth. Whatever people around him are telling him he's succeeding, he's not succeeding. Because, for instance, I'm from Kogi State. I know how many farmers that they have the lands, they don't have the seedlings. I have to use my money and buy the seedlings, give them my money to till the soil, and after that, they will now know how to share this ratio. Oh,
That
this
is
is it.
if it's successful.
That is if it's successful. But before it being successful, you do your own research. You have your team. I have my team who will move around, check what you have, see what can come in, then we know where to go from there.
Amazing. Okay, let's look at key benefits of agricultural economic diversification. Diversification in this aspect now means the different things that we can do, the different options available to us. Say, for example, I'm interested, very much interested in this. If a particular area is good at farming rice,
Yes.
and another area is good at farming beans, another area is good at farming yam, these are the diversifications that we're talking about. Though we know in the olden days, the economic indices were such that it was trade by barter. 10 tubers of yam for probably 1 keg of palm oil, or uh, one goat for maybe 100 tubers of yam. There was exchange, and it was done with agricultural products because food security must be ensured. Now, this diversification, what particularly is its benefits when we now check that we are unable to collaborate or trade beautifully as it should be?
Okay. Now, when you talk of diversification, if you have one source of income and every business has its season,
Yes.
if you're not in the season of this business and that business is down, how do you survive? This is where agriculture comes to play. There is a raining season, there's a dry season, there's a planting season, there is a waiting season,
And
there is a
there's a harvest
harvesting
season.
season. This life is in seasons. That is how agriculture also is in seasons. If you say diversification into agriculture, and let's just put it
Now,
statistically,
even talking diversification within agriculture.
that is what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you look at it, 10 states alone decide to produce massively, like have minimum of 10,000 hectares of land, that the commissioner of that state lives in that farm, wakes up in that farm, does everything that farm. Do you know will solve 90% of the food security we have in the country?
Wow.
Look at, for instance, Benue State is a sleeping giant. Kogi State, Taraba. Do you know the landmass in Taraba? And we're
Niger.
just Niger, and we're just utilizing less than 10% of it. Well, anyway, one of the causes are just mostly insecurities and all those things. But by the time you diversify in agriculture, you reduce the pressure on the government for people. If someone sees that, oh, this person is a farmer, and after this season he comes home with maybe 100 bags of soya beans or 100 bags of beans. Do you know how much they sell the beans? The bag of beans now is over 200,000. So imagine you have 100 bags of it. Calculate it in that year. If you save it and you sell it off, is that money not enough to sustain you peacefully without pressure, without stress that you must go to work every day? You've done your harvest, you sit down, you decide to sell. And when you finish selling, you wait. That money is enough to sustain you for the next year. And that next year, you keep preparing that soil for another
Planting
planting
season.
season. And when you look at that, the pressure reduces from the government. A lot of people don't put interest of petroleum, oil, this and that. And again, if you decide to go into transport sector, we have the waterways, it's not in use. We have the rails, not in use. Do you know if those particular aspects alone are in use, you have solved agricultural's 50% problem?
This is beautiful to note. Okay, let me quickly, I know we don't have much time, but let's examine something now.
Okay.
And that is talking about Nigerians' reliance in imported food products. Now, I want a practical example using your farm, Mahanudin Farms. You understand? How are you addressing this problem?
Okay.
I'm
Right
talking
now,
about standards now.
right now, to be honest with you, there is a there is a major problem coming. Okay. And it's not going to affect just the poor. The first victims are going to be the rich.
Okay.
You are importing food, genetically modified foods.
Hmm.
Because I remember when I was in Istanbul, my boss would tell me I want organic food. I didn't understand when he was saying I want organic food. What's the cause of cancer? What are the causes of tumors and all these diseases that were never in Africa? Because now a plant that you're supposed to take 12 months to grow, you see it growing in 6 months. Those are all GMOs. But I believe there is always a problem to us accepting it because we have been programmed to think their food is better than ours.
Hmm.
In which, by the time this problem begins to hit us in Nigeria now, the medical sector will become the next booming sector because a lot of patients will be going there. Go to the hospitals now. I guarantee you, you'll be so shocked the kind of sicknesses you are hearing. These were things that were not there 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Why? Because we're all consuming organic meals. But if you decide to follow what the Western world is doing by allowing them bring in their own meals, the other challenge we are going to be facing it is contaminating our soil.
Hmm.
And in the next 10 years, 20, 30 years, those lands we use today will be of no use.
This is really bad.
So the government has to sit down and reprogram themselves to understand that whatever God has given to you cannot cause you harm compared with what you go and generate in the lab. And I really, really wish the Honorable Minister can try to understand that there is going to be a lot of work for him to do. Because if he succeeds in settling the issue of agriculture, why won't I even want him to be the president of the country tomorrow? I'm
Amazing.
not a politician, but this is it. If practically, if you want to get results, it starts from something small.
That's true.
If you're successful in one sector, tomorrow I'll give you a bigger task to do.
That's very true.
So, and agriculture is something that we cannot underestimate because, my brother, every 6 hours you must eat.
Yes.
You must eat. And it is the next evolution. If Nigeria sets itself very well now, trust me, they can feed Africa in no time.
Well, you're hearing that from Mr. Usman Ibrahim, and of course, he's telling us that Nigeria has the potential to feed Africa as a whole. That is, if we get it right. And of course, he has highlighted that the minister, if he does it, he would even be willing to not just vote for him to become president, but probably even sponsor his campaign. That is an amazing one. Well, the program is still Good Morning Abuja, and we are discussing viral interstate importation and the need for agricultural economic diversification with Mr. Usman um, Ibrahim.
Yes.
Yes, and he's the managing director of Managing Farms and an agri expert. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we have to go. Just to let you know that there is a lot of work for us to do. We all must pay attention to food security. Let's go on this quick short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the rest of